Welcome to episode 31.
Hey, this is John Lee Dumas of EO Fire, and you're listening to Who Did That Voice, where we take an in-depth look at voiceovers.
The holiday season is upon us, and there is no time like the present to book your holiday getaway with 3D Travel Company. Whether you want to set sail on the high seas or visit exotic and foreign locales, maybe your dream is to see a magical mouse, or maybe you long for a getaway that will universally appeal to all. For a limited time, my listeners receive a Disney gift card with qualifying Disney vacation purchases booked and traveled by the end of 2016. For more information on booking any of these trips, go to 3dtravelcompany.com and tell them Trenton sent you.
Merry Christmas and welcome to Who Did That Voice, the show where we take an in-depth look at voiceover. And now, here's your host, Trenton Larkin.
Hey everyone, and welcome back to the show. Today's special guest is fond of playing video games, is always being told by his mom to clean his room. His name is Kevin Keene, aka Captain N.
What? How did we get here? Simon Belmont, Kid Icarus, Mega Man?
And you must be Captain N.
You guys aren't real. You're just so many computer bytes in my game cartridges. Wow, they're real.
Today's special guest has come all the way from Cybertron. Welcome Ironhide to the show.
So, anyone else?
Yeah, I'll go again. I'm ready. Whenever you are.
I like you, Ironhide. You remind me a lot of Hotshot.
You really think so, sir?
All right, that's enough training for today, men. We'll pick this up tomorrow.
Sir! Oh, wow. Can't believe Optimus said that. Just to be mentioned in the same breath as Hotshot is probably the greatest compliment in the universe.
Our special guest is also one that loves to play in the sewers, gets people shell-shocked, and loves pizza. Please welcome Raphael to the show.
Oh man, not again. Do the words "get a life" mean anything to you losers? Okay, let's do it. But I'm telling you, any of you chumps put a scratch on my bike, you're footing the bill. Get it? Footing the bill?
Come on!
Now sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. Hello everyone, and welcome to another episode of Who Did That Voice? Today on the show we have Matt Hill. Matt, thank you so much for coming on the show today.
Brenton, my friend, it is so awesome to be invited and to be on your Who Did That Voice? Because I'm always wondering too. It's like, hey, who did that voice? You know, and so it's. I think it's a brilliant idea, man. So it's my pleasure to be here.
Well, thanks so much, Matt. I grew up knowing you without knowing you, and now it's a pleasure to get to actually meet you and talk with you and learn a little bit more about you today.
Absolutely, man. The pleasure is all mine too, dude.
You know, Matt, the very first thing we always like to do is just kind of get a brief story on who our guest is and how did you get into the voiceover industry?
Well, that's a great question, man. It's I call it kind of like my 13-year-old self. I kind of had one of those moments, when I don't know, I think in some respects I'd always been, preparing for that kind of light bulb moment at 13, on all the sort of stages of my younger days, at the bottom of my cul-de-sac where, we always used to call it monkey hour, and we would, literally we'd put on shows and, do this stuff, and I'd be dancing and singing and, having fun. And, it was kind of like those moments then I think led to that big one. When I turned 13, I just went, wow, I've been thinking about this for a long time. And, in my brain, I'm thinking like, okay, 13 years have gone through the candles here on my storybook. If that's what I want to do, then this is what I'm going to do. And I even skipped school that day. And I say sorry to all my teachers because I was really, it's the truth. I was on a mission. I said, today's the day. I'm gonna make this happen. And I call it now. Actually, I took my very first professional development day from school. But I did. I took the bus downtown and I walked into an agency that I'd heard on the radio, and this chain smoking ex-model named Dorothy Boyce, God love her. She looked over through the haze and, she's like, "Hey, who are you?" I'm like, "Oh, hey, I'm Matt Hill. It's nice to meet you." And she's like, "What are you doing here?" And I'm like, "I want to be an actor." And she's like, "You got the experience?" I'm like, "Nope, I have no experience, but I really want to do this, And she kind of looked me, give me the once over and said, maybe I'm crazy, but I don't know why I'm doing this, but I got a feeling about you, kid. And, she signed me up for my first course. And I think about 2 or 3 weeks after I finished that, I got my first gig, and that was playing Santa's elf in the Christmas Day parade at up here in Vancouver, and so in 2 weeks made more money than I'd ever made in my paper route for my whole life, and it kind of really just set it going.
Well, that is most fascinating. I didn't know you played a Christmas elf.
Yeah, it did. Got me. It's funny, without even realizing it, I was already getting into voiceover. So, I thought it was just because I was short and I fit the suit.
Oh, that's funny. Well, when it comes to animation, was Captain N your very first show?
Very first show professionally where, I became a card-carrying union member, I think 3 episodes in. And so that was really the one that kickstarted it all. And it's kind of cool because that was actually kind of officially one of the first big sort of American cartoon, Saturday morning cartoon series that came to record in Vancouver. So it was a really neat time to get in. And honestly, did I know that would be, sort of the launching point for, almost 30 years now and doing voiceover and, film and TV and all that. I mean, it's quite amazing, to know that was kind of like that was it. That set it all in motion,
Absolutely. And I kind of jumped into that question without really telling my listeners who you played. And you did play Kevin Keene, who was Captain N, the Game Master, on Captain N, the Game Master animated show from back in the 80s. And, but yeah, thank you so much for sharing that with us. Your very first animation, that's always where we like to start at the very beginning. It's a good place to start.
It always is. It's so funny. I was making a greatest hits, the sort of like all my cartoon shows and stuff. And, I actually came across some old Captain Nintendo footage, and so I tried to piece them together. Oh, man, all I could say is, thank God I've improved.
Well,
I was horrible.
Were you the actual boy that was live action before it became animated, or were you just the voice? Okay.
No, I was just the voice. No, I had blonde curly hair and looked like sort of like a shorter version of, Sammy Hagar mixed with Bryan Adams. So, but the other guy, they at the time they were thinking they might want to do, both like the same guy, but then they split us up. So.
Hey, at least you were a part of that, because I know it's a show that I grew up loving, Captain N, the Game Master show, because it was so fascinating, because I loved video games and I loved the original Nintendo. So
yeah, exactly. It's got quite an ardent, fan base, and like you said, it kind of hit everything at the right time, I guess.
Yeah, most definitely. Well, another amazing show that you got to be a part of was Saban's Ninja Turtles, The Next Mutation, and you got to play Raphael in that show, the TV show, live action show. And when you played Raph, were you just the voice in that, or did you actually wear the turtle suit as well?
Oh, yeah. No, actually, playing Raphael, just a little bit from my brothers and sisters out there, Cowabunga. I actually was cast originally in 92 to be Raphael inside the suit for Turtle 3. I think it was called Turtles Back in Time.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So it was great because I got to use all my athletics and, train with a world-class martial artist, actually, a gentleman by the name of Shishir Inakalia, who's I think he's an 8th degree black belt master in Arnis, which is Filipino stick fighting. And he actually was the stunt guy, the martial artist for Michelangelo. And so when I got cast for the role, they said, well, we're going to be doing also parts of the kicks and the punches and things like that in between the lines. So they wanted us to train for, I guess I trained for about 9 months, to get ready for like the hottest, heaviest, most blinding bit of acting work that I had done to date. It was kind of like kabuki theater. It was acting blind, deaf, and dumb.
Wow. So you said you were actually in Turtles 3 as well as the TV show?
Yeah. So Turtles 3, the movie, we did that in 92, and it came out in 93. And then I believe then Saban came calling. I think, what was the year when that was done? Like 97?
It was like 97, yeah, because it was like Power Rangers in space. Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. So they wanted me to play Raph. They wanted me to get back inside the suit. Well, they didn't want. They just said, "Would you like to get back in the suit?" And it was awesome being in the suit. Obviously, hindsight's 20/20. At that point, I was like, you know what? I've done it once. So I'm good there. And so then they came back and said, "Hey, would you like to read for to play him then as the doing the voice?" And I was like, "Oh, that would be amazing," because instead of having to spend 3 hours getting into the turtle suit every day, and like it's hot, it's heavy, it was great. All I had to do was turn my hat on backwards and go in the studio and voice this guy, who I felt quite a kinship with, and so I thought that was, for me, it was kind of like it was a big gift, because it sort of, I think, helped me and Raphael kind of like become one, so it was a lot of fun doing all those episodes.
Well, that is most fascinating. I didn't realize that you were both, in the live action movie and the series. I knew you were in the series, but that's fascinating that you got to play both of those. So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was a lot of fun, man. That's for sure.
Well, I appreciate you sharing that with us. That was definitely one of my favorites. Saban did so many amazing shows, and the fact that they brought Turtles to a live action TV show was just amazing.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, no kidding. And actually on a budget that was kind of a shoestring too. So, hats off to all the cast and crew up here in Vancouver, because boy, I tell you, they made it look pretty good.
Yeah, they did an amazing job with the limited budget they had. Honestly, it was really good.
Mm-hmm. Oh, absolutely.
Well, Matt, there's another big character that you have played that a lot of people know from Cartoon Network. You played Ed with 1D on Ed, Edd, and Eddy. What was it like for you playing on that show with that cast of guys?
I played Ed with 1D. Wow. Did you? I didn't know that. That is, wow. Well, thank you very much for that, Trenton, because playing Ed Single D for 8 seasons was so much fun. It was sparkly, and we had the best time ever. It was, what? It's funny. It was kind of, vocally, it was probably one of the hardest shows that I ever did, because in a way, the creator of it, Danny Antonucci, was he was a genius. He had all the storyboards in his head, so he knew how he wanted every scene to be done, and he wouldn't let us not keep doing the lines until he got what he needed. So, I think at one point I set a record for 36 takes or something for one line. And,
wow.
But the thing that's cool is that in all the cartoons that I've done, we never did any pickups on that show, which is usually you come back later and, if a scene doesn't work, or if the writing was a bit long, or if they needed more material, you'd fix it in post, right?
Yeah.
And that was the only show that literally the only time we came back to do something different was if the broadcaster said, "Hey, you can't say that. We need to say this." So I have a lot of respect for that. And, as all the Eds always say, going, "Wow, we earned our bucks on that show because we worked our proverbial what's off."
Well, that's awesome, man. I didn't realize, because a lot of times they do the retakes. And so for them to just say, "Hey, we're going to do it here and now and here," that's amazing, so.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, no. And like I said, I have so much respect for Danny, the creator, and, the whole team, because it really was, it's funny looking back on it now. It's one of those shows that just kind of comes along, and man, it just hit. Like when we went on our run around North America, which I have a feeling you might ask about later, it really allowed that character, interestingly enough, to come to life again. Actually, specifically Raphael and Ed, with meeting all the kids that we spoke to at all the school presentations. And again, the greatest gift, because they're all coming at me going, "Oh my God, I love you in that show." And, but it literally helped us spread our message, which was, spreading environmental action.
Absolutely. So it gave you an in for the kids, and then it was giving you an opportunity to share other wonderful things with them at the same time.
Yeah. It gave us, it was like a connection point, right? It's like what you said when you introduced yourself via email. You're like, "Oh man, I grew up with you, but I just didn't know it was you," and that was the brilliant gift for both sides, myself and everyone I ran into, pardon the pun, on the tour. Was people going, you really, from the young kids all the way up to adults who turned into 10-year-olds, when they found out I was Raphael, I remember one principal actually coming to me in a school in Houston, and he was a big, tall African-American man, and had run the school like a really like a military college. And so for this man to come up to me after our presentation with a tear in his eye and say, "Hey man, I just wanted to thank you for being Raphael and all the other voices that now I know my kids are listening to, like Ed and My Little Pony and what do they call it, Care Bears." He said, "But I want you to know that when I was a kid, I went through such a tough childhood," because he said, my dad wasn't the nicest man, and he had a tear in his eye, and he just said, I want to thank you because Raphael in this moment made such a difference in my life, because it helped me believe in myself. It helped me see that, someone else could be a bit of an outcast, but he still wore his heart on his sleeve. He still helped old ladies across the street. He just didn't tell anybody about it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
So I had these unbelievable moments of humanity that, like I said, people were thanking me, and I'm looking at them going, whoa, dude, thank you for giving me such a great life too,
Yeah, absolutely.
It's, such a win-win. So feel very, very fortunate.
That's an amazing story. I appreciate you sharing that with us.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, I know you also became a part of a show that has a long running and a long fan base. You got to play on both Transformers Armada and Transformers Energon as Carlos initially, and then you returned as Carlos in Energon, and you got to play Ironhide. What was it like playing that character?
Oh, Ironhide?
Yeah.
He's kind of like Raphael and like Ed and another guy I'm playing right now on a DreamWorks show called Dino Trucks. It's kind of like everything all together, because Ironhide was like over the top and just like, but again, did everything for the team. Like he, wore his heart on his sleeve, but he'd be the first one to, jump in and be like, "All right, I'm going to kick your guys' ass." It was pretty cool. I'm not sure if it's art imitating life or what, I'm, the saying.
Well, Transformers has been a long-running show that I've been a follower of since I was a kid, growing up in the 80s and 90s. So being able to speak with you is very fascinating, because Transformers has been a show that, like other shows like the Turtles and everything you've done, it's impacted a lot of people in different ways,
Yeah, absolutely. And that's why, really, it's funny. I was always uber grateful for the life that, film and TV and cartoons especially had given me, because, it obviously, I got to go and have fun and, and got really, nicely well paid when I was doing it. So I was always really grateful for what I was putting in, I was getting, I was receiving back. But it wasn't, like I said, until I went out on the tour that it came 20-fold back to me as a gift of going, oh, wow. Look at all the people that are saying that they helped me with, through this childhood, or they just helped me have a laugh, or they just helped me believe in myself, or, like you said, it's like getting to hear all these different characters that I feel I got chosen to play, which even other people have played them as well. It's almost like just getting to become this version of, I guess, the story on the characters,
Yeah, most definitely. Absolutely. It's just amazing, to be a part of these legacies of shows that have impacted people and to continue impacting people as the eras and times go on,
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Because I still speak to kids and, doing keynotes, and, I did a bunch this July, and same thing, the leadership camp, and it's so neat. These kids were coming from around the world. So again, when they find out all these different ones, I guess, their eyes light up for one, because they didn't know the other one, but they are like, oh my God, you're on this one? So it's so neat to have this international audience too,
Yeah.
Again, it's like now I feel inspired for the next part of it, because every time I get a gig, it allows me to stay current with the kids, and also at the same time, I get to keep, gainfully employed. So it's a beautiful thing.
Absolutely. Well, earlier you were mentioning Care Bears, and you played Tenderheart Bear, which he was absolutely one of my favorite characters growing up. One of the best Care Bears in my opinion. And you've also played on Street Sharks as Jab, which those shows were both childhood favorites of mine. So.
Yay. That's awesome.
Yeah,
playing Care Bears is like one of my favorite things. I love doing this with with the kids. Well, or if I have a group of older people, I'll be like, okay, everybody remember Tenderheart and the Care Bears, and they'll be like, yeah, okay, everybody stand up right now and give yourself a big hug, because you have to love yourself first. Now turn to the person on your left or your right and give them a big hug too. And, it's, again, people, like adults can connect and, feel silly and have fun and, and it's through the power of cartoons. It's like, I'm so lucky.
Absolutely.
It's a good thing. Yep.
It sounds like your life has been blessed with many different opportunities and experiences through the course of your career. And it's most fascinating to be able to share these moments with you.
Yeah, no, thank you, man. Yeah, it's, like I say, it's, I often feel like George Bailey in It's a Wonderful Life, that role that Jimmy Stewart played, and, I mean, he's the reason why I wanted to become an actor in film and TV in the first place, happened upon that movie a long time ago. And I often have those moments where I go, wow, it really is, a wonderful life. And, a man or a woman who has friends and family, really, that's it right there,
I absolutely agree with you 100%.
Yeah. Yep. No, absolutely, man.
Well, one of the shows you've been a part of that's another long-running, long-standing fan favorite is My Little Pony. And can you tell us a little bit about your pony, Soarin, and what was he like to play?
Yeah, Pony Soarin. He's I love that guy because once again, it was so neat. I got back from the Run for One Planet tour, and the casting director here in Vancouver knows me for a long time because he actually directed me in Eddy and a bunch of other stuff. And they were looking for this voice to play Soarin, who's in the description was he's one of the Wonderbolts, but he's an extreme athlete. He's super positive. He's super this. He's super that. And I remember Terry saying like, I only know one guy in this whole city that will play this. So Matty Hill, you need to come down here right now and read for this. And so, came down and got the part. And again, it's great casting on their part in terms of like, it's easy for me to step into it because essentially I just get to be myself,
Yeah.
So it's awesome. I think that's where I continually know that I'm on the right path because I'm getting to do stuff I think that also reflects me authentically and, so that I can then put it out there. And I think there's a reason why I'm not able to do these, these big monster voices and stuff because I don't know. Well, one, it makes me cough and I lose my voice. So, and there's guys and gals that are 10,000 times more talented than me and, in terms of those vocal ranges. But, I always believe we're always taken care of by the good Lord above.
Absolutely. I totally agree with you on that as well.
So, yeah.
What kind of advice would you give to someone, Matt, who's looking at potentially joining the voiceover industry or trying to get into it?
It's such a great question, Trenton, because I think in that respect, it's really changed and evolved in the last few years. I mean, obviously when I started when I was, 13, there was pretty much just kind of, one avenue. You needed to get an agent and your agent would send you out and you'd, go in person and you'd read for things. You get a couple of gigs, you put a demo together, whether it's film, TV, or whether it's voiceover, and you kind of do the rounds that way. Whereas now technology is so brilliant because everybody's accepting MP3s from pretty much everybody, Yeah. And so I think it's a great time to get in. And I've always been a firm believer that there's always enough room for anybody. I think the universal is we always have to realize it's a unique path and there's no barrier of entry other than the one that we put in front of ourselves. I truly, and I mean that with all my heart. It's I don't think it's any more or less easy or hard to get into the industry now than when it was 30 years ago. It's just different,
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so I'd say for, like that advice was for me from, Dorothy Boyce, my first agent, even though it was for film and TV, she still said, she's like, you got to get some training. She's just like, she's like, okay, I love your energy and your belief. And, Michael J. Fox is the only other client I've ever said yes to without any auditions or anything else. And you somehow remind me of him, she said, so you better make me proud. I remember her saying that. And, but it's the same now. I think that everybody's got to be, it's not just saying, yeah, okay, I'm going to be a voice actor. Okay, that's awesome. Now, and then what's the next step? And what's the next step after that? And, there's like no route other than the unique path that everybody forges.
Absolutely. Everyone's path is different.
Yeah, and I think the universal is definitely, get trained. If you're not very good, then get good, get great. Don't be afraid to work your butt off, and because that will produce results for sure, and if you don't live in a city that's sort of like a major center, like say, LA or Vancouver or like, I don't know, New York or, Chicago, let's say, I still think that with the advent of technology, it's a lot easier still to break that barrier. You don't necessarily have to move to these cities in order to have some sort of a voice career. You just got to be creative about it, right?
Absolutely. I totally agree. You got to just be creative and put yourself out there any way you can.
Well, exactly. And it's like everything. It's like learning how to run a marathon or doing a voiceover and getting a career. It's practice, 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 and only we can be responsible for that. Right. And so if that's the first thing you got to do, well, then, okay, then do that. Get into a class, build a community, talk to people, phone your mom every day and say, Mom, what do you think of this? Come on, moms will always love you. They'll always say like, oh, honey, you've got the best voices.
Well, Matt, you've shared some amazing stories with us today, brother. I am so excited to have had you on the show. Do you have any other up-and-coming projects in the voiceover industry that you can share with us today?
Yes, I do. Super Noobs by the ultra-talented Scott Fellows, who did Johnny Quest for many years, and just such a wonderful, talented human being. He cast me in this show, I guess we're on season 2 now. And I think that's airing on Cartoon Network, actually, I think. And then Dino Trucks, which we're in the 3rd season of 78 episodes. And that's with DreamWorks Television, and it's on Netflix. And I play a resident dude named Tum. So I'm the blue guy.
I've seen that show, and I didn't realize that was you either. So that's awesome.
Oh, really? Nice.
Yeah.
No, I love playing. Tum's one of my favorite, I love playing Tum.
Well, that's good.
It's pretty cool. I've had those moments now where, I've been, say, behind someone's kids and, and they'll be watching Dino Trucks on Netflix and I'll walk up behind them and I'll wait till, say, it's a little scene with me in it or something. And then, I'll just go, hey, what are you little dudes doing? And they'll, all of a sudden they'll kind of look back and what the? And then we realize and then I'll start talking and, it's so great. I get lots of calls for people, would I phone their kid on their birthday, as Tum. And so, I've been doing that for like I said, 30 years. So,
wow.
I still get, Raphael requests, man. So, if I could send you a picture, I got an 8x10 of me in the turtle suit.
Oh, that'd be cool to see. I'd love to have a copy.
No, that's all good. I'll just give me your address. I'll mail one out to you.
Absolutely. That'd be awesome. I'd appreciate it. Well, what I was going to ask was you'd kind of briefly talked about your run around the United States and Canada, and you ministered to kids. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, this run was actually an 11,000-mile run tour, all with the mission to inspire environmental action one step at a time. So we used the metaphor of the marathon, and myself and my friend, Steph Kate, we formed an organization called Run for One Planet. And the website for that is runforoneplanet.org. And, or you can get a link off of my website, matt-hill.com. And it literally was that. We ran a marathon each a day across our beautiful country up here in Canada, and then turned right and went down the East Coast down to Florida and turned right again and, skirted Mexico in the bottom of the States and hit California, turned right again. And, just over 369 days later, we made it back to Vancouver. And, it absolutely changed my life. And for me, one of the greatest experiences I've yet to experience, not only because of my love of running, but also, my dear love of the planet and really wanting to connect with a continent and see if we could just inspire everybody to take one action for a healthier planet. And that was really what the whole crux of the tour was all about, was asking people to just take one action. We have a list of 10 steps on our site of really easy things that people can do, so like, if an environmental action for you is turning off the light when you leave a room or turning off the water when you're washing your hands or brushing your teeth, little simple things like that. That literally we ran this message, around North America, and it was awesome. It was, again, like my dad used to say, whenever you throw yourself out there on a big dream, you get challenged just as large. So, we could talk for an hour just about the tour, but it truly was, one of the greatest things that I feel really, really honored to have been the one to sort of go, hey, I think I'd really like to do this, So
Absolutely.
And and actually, just an update on actually the tour. We got, how in America you have the Congressional Medal of Honor.
Yes.
Well, in Canada we have what's called the Governor General, and we got a call actually a couple of months ago. We've just been awarded the Canadian version of the Medal of Honor, which is the Governor General's Meritorious Service Medal. So we'll be going to a ceremony sometime in the fall and getting to shake the big guy's hand and for all the stuff with the tour. And they said mainly because of all the kids that we talked to and the impact that it had on North American kids. So.
Well, that is most fascinating, and what an honor! Congratulations on that, Matt.
Yeah. Thanks, man. Yeah, I tell you, it's one of those ones that came out of nowhere. I never thought something like this would happen, but again, it just shows, I believe, that we all have our path to follow and live our dreams and reach towards making ourselves better people, and also connecting with more people and leaving a legacy of goodness.
Well, I think it's just spectacular that you were able to minister to so many people and, as you mentioned, kind of to, spread a legacy of goodness, which is fantastic. When you were contacted by the Canadian government, what was it like for them to tell you that you were going to be receiving this special award? For
me, being awarded, say, this medal for a job well done, for something that we did like 6 years ago, just it shows that we're always, it's like the law of checks and balances. It always, you throw something great out there, something always great comes back. And it may not come back right away, but it comes back eventually, and in ways that you're never expecting it, but it always turns out better than expected. And for, say, this tour, like I was sharing with you, the second that I reached out big on this dream to inspire a continent through running, I got the instant gift back of people saying thank you for making me laugh or helping me get through a tough childhood with all the cartoons. And so that's what I mean. It was always this give and take of, people saying thank you, and I'm going, whoa, no, thank you. Holy moly. You're just giving me the greatest gift here by sharing this with me, and then I think to me, that's why we're all here put on this earth is, even because our time is relatively short, it's like, make it great. And whatever that great is for you, it doesn't have to be my life. You don't want it to be my life. You want it to be your life, and that's what I love about the power of choice, because we have so much choice, I think probably the biggest thing is we always have a choice. Who are we going to be through every situation, and I think ultimately leaving a legacy of goodness, so that, it's like that Maya Angelou saying, like, people will, they'll never remember what you said. They'll never remember what you did. They'll just remember how you made people feel. I love that one because that's the truth, I think.
Most definitely. I totally agree. People are going to remember the good times and the funny things you did and the laughter you brought them from the joy of whatever it was that made them feel that way,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. No, totally. Totally.
Matt, thank you again, man, so much for sharing your stories with us today. One more time, what was your website and how can people reach out to you?
Yeah, absolutely. They can friend me on Facebook if they want, or they can go to my website too, and that's Matt, MATT-HILL.com, and or the Run for One Planet website if you want to have a look at what I'm talking about with the tour, and that's runforoneplanet.org.
Well, you answered my last question without even having to ask it. And the question I usually ask to finish out is, what is the legacy you want to leave behind? But you shared such an amazing story with us, about all the shows you've been a part of, but as well as, helping people be aware of the planet and, keep it clean and, just being an individual that shows, you're exercising and being healthy and taking care of the planet and ministering to children. And I think ministering to kids today is the number one greatest thing you can ever do, because our children are the next generation. And if we don't minister to them, if we don't share our love with them and what we know and try to help them see the path for their future, what other legacy is there, Matt? I mean, I think you have an amazing legacy that you're leaving behind, and you will be remembered for long, long time after you're gone, my man.
Well, thank you, my friend. Yeah, no, it's, but it's true, right? It's like, we take that on, and, I really believe that, it's, because it's funny when you say yes to that type of living, it does get you through the tough times, because it doesn't mean I've had lots of tough days, and I know you've probably had lots of tough days. And what it does is, I think it keeps us grounded to say, like, okay, I'm part of this human journey. But at the same time, it allows you to go back to simplicity of going, like, okay, what am I standing for? Who am I going to show up and be in this moment? Not live with rose-colored glasses on. Just say, okay, here's what I want to do. Here's what I want to do in terms of, like, leaving a mark, or here's what I want to stand up for right now, or even something as, minuscule as being in a Starbucks lineup and you see that the barista's having a really tough day because it's super busy and people are being grumpy with her or whatever, My dad taught me that one. It's like, he's like, kill them with kindness. Just be good to each other, and that changes everything, right? And so, it's like I say to the kids, it's like, be good to yourself first, because you have to love yourself first, and then, be good to everybody else, and then be good to the planet. And, then I think we've done our job, and, hopefully 7 generations forward, are those great grandkids go like, hey, thanks a lot, Grandpa. Or not Grandpa, but great Grandpa. I don't know how many 7 generations is, but
it's quite a few.
Absolutely.
Well, Matt, man, it has been an absolute pleasure and an honor to have you on the show today, bud.
Thanks, man. Thanks for asking me. I sure appreciate it. And best of luck with everything. Absolutely.
Thank you so very much.
You got it, dude.
Matt, thank you so very much for being on the show today. It was an absolute pleasure having you. Thank you so much for joining us. Would you just give us a closeout today as Raphael?
Hey, yo, everybody. Trenton, Rockstar. Dudes and dudettes out there, be good to yourself, be good to each other, be good to this planet. I tell you, we got this. So it's been a pleasure being on Who Did That Voice.
And my friend Tenderheart would also just like to say thank you, Trenton, for allowing me to share as well.
And Ed would like to tell everybody, too, that don't forget to be sparkly and fun and good to everyone. And remember, eat lots of gravy as well.
Well, everyone, I hope you enjoyed today's episode with Matt Hill, the voice of so many amazing characters that we covered today. We'll see you guys next year for another episode of Who Did That Voice? Well, everyone, that's all the time we have for this episode and for the rest of this year. We'll see you guys next year on January 6th with special guest Kerrigan Mahan, the voice of Goldar from Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. Hey everyone, it's been an amazing 2016 and we couldn't have gotten here without you. I hope everyone has a happy new year and we'll see you in 2017.
Thank you for joining us today. We'll see you next time for more discoveries on Who Did That Voice.